He's warned white people not to cede power to other ethnic groups who breed
Wait.
This is all in his public papers, right? Is there a conflict between...
There's no public paper that says that.
What are the differences in educability? Wait, hold on.
Where's the evidence of that? You said you made a statement. What's the source of that about him publicly advocating a European-American Union?
The European-American majority is something that he advocated to another member of your board of directors. It's in his public papers that are stored at the University of Michigan. Let me ask you about something else that's on the record that's been published by the Arizona Republic.
That.
Yes.
You publicly advocated. You said he...
It's in his public papers that are archived at the University of Michigan.
He put all of his private papers... He put all of his private papers in a university in Michigan, yep. and what you're saying is you're taking a private comment made out of context from a private letter and saying he made a public comment to that effect.
What about him asking, is there a difference in educability between Hispanics and Asiatics? That's a memo that he wrote that was published by the Arizona Republic. Nobody's ever questioned.
And you're asking this question. Well, it was a private document, not in the context of fair and not a fair position, obviously. And you're raising this issue 25 years later in order to inflame a public debate.
Because he's on your board of directors.
What's going on now is that there is an effort. Well, he's asking a question, but there's an effort going on to inflame this issue.
Is that an appropriate question to be asked?
Well, you're raising the issue in order to divide Hispanic Americans from other people. You are the one who is being divisive in this country. We are not. You are the one who is making this a racial and ethnic issue.
Mr. Stein, this is what's going on. Everybody in the country is trying to figure out if the Arizona law is as racist as it seems. That's what's happening. This is the national debate that we're having. It is germane, it seems to me, because you guys wrote the bill.
Why are you coming on TV and tossing out? You're tossing out stuff from 25 years ago. That has no relevance about anything about somebody's comment in a private correspondence. John Tanton, I will go to bat for any time, but he's one person involved in this organization.
He's the founder of your organization, and he's on the board of directors. It seems germane to me, since you wrote the law, since your organization has taken credit for writing the law, it seems germane to me to examine whether or not your organization has a racist track record. So having John Tanton on your board of directors currently...
I don't see where that followed.
Somebody who said, what are the differences in educability between Hispanics and Asiatics, who has advocated the idea that in order to sustain European-American civilization, we need a European-American majority. It seems like there's a conflict between having somebody like that on your board of directors and trying to be seen as a responsible, moderate organization.
You see, you're imputing things to FAIR, and you're also imputing things to John Tanton that aren't necessarily... Well, the point is, this is not ultimately, fundamentally relevant to the policy debate that we're having now. Nobody is talking about the question of whether or not the United States should maintain a majority European-American population in this country.
Except the guy on your board of directors.
Well, the point is, we have a big tent. People have lots of ideas. People entertain ideas. Okay, how can you turn around and say, Henry Ford founded the Ford Foundation. Henry Ford was an advocate of the protocols. Does that mean that La Raza, which gets money from the Ford Foundation, is anti-Semitic? I mean, you're making this is an absurd.
Well, let me ask you about you. Let me ask you about you. You're the president of FAIR. Can I ask you about you? All right.
If you want to dig yourself into a hole, go ahead.
Sure. I'm happy to. I enjoy it. In 1997, you did an interview with Tucker Carlson, and he was asked you to respond to this quote from somebody else who was on FAIR's board of directors. And the quote he was asked you to respond to was this: "It would be better to encourage the breeding of more intelligent people rather than less intelligent." He said that in the context of expressing his alarm about people in other countries reproducing too much. Your response to that was, let me just finish the question and then you can answer. It works every night. I try it. Trust me. He says, your response to that was, yeah, so what? What is your problem with that? Should we be subsidizing people with low IQs to have as many children as possible and not subsidizing those with high ones? Did you not say that? Was that a misquote
from Tucker? No, I didn't say that. It's an absolute misquote. Tucker Carlson's admitted that most of the quotes in there were twisted and misquotes. Obviously, anybody who knows me knows that I wouldn't take positions like that. That's absurd.
In 2006, you hired a man named Joseph Turner to be FAIR's Western Region field representative. He had founded a group called Save Our State. And he wrote on that group's online forums, "I'll be damned if I'm going to sit back and watch my state turn into a third world cesspool. I consider accusations of bigotry and racism to be complimentary." He then went on to say, "I can make the argument that just because one believes in white separatism, that does not make them a racist." Did you know those things about Joseph Turner when you hired him to be your Western regional representative?
I don't know the context of the statement. He certainly never made that statement in the context of working for FAIR. And I think FAIR, he worked for FAIR for a little while, but ultimately I think we work very hard and have worked hard with hundreds of people working for our organization to find people who are good, constructive, solid participants in this debate. And I think this effort to try to smear not just FAIR, but everybody on this side of the issue is not going to move us forward. The reason why this bill is not going forward in Congress that you're so happy about, this Democrat bill is not going anywhere because immigration policy has historically been decided on a bipartisan basis. And the kind of invidious partisan name-calling and smearing going on here is not going to advance the national dialogue. People want solutions. That's why Arizona passed this law. Not name-calling and not shrill rhetoric.
I'm not trying to be shrill, and I'm not calling you any names. I'm sorry that it feels that way to you.
Do you want to ask me anything more about me or FAIR?
Well, because I want to ask you about FAIR.
Ask me something about something that FAIR has done in its official capacity as an organization.
Okay. So FAIR, that guy Joseph Turner was your Western Regional Field Representative. Joseph Turner took that job after a guy named Rick Oltmann had that job. Rick Oltmann?
No, that's, well, not true, but anyway.
Rick Oltmann was a Western Field Representative for FAIR? A different job title?
Yeah, Rick Oltmann worked for FAIR, yeah.
He's linked to the Council of Conservative Citizens. We have a photo of him on a Council of Conservative Citizens panel here that we can put up here. Council of Conservative Citizens. If you go to that group's website right now, here's what you'll find. Hold on. A write-up. There's a question at the end of this. There's a write-up on a book about African people and intelligence we have the picture of the FAIR of the website here, Council of Conservative Citizens? Yes. Erectus walks among us. It's a sort of mock-up between a black person and an ape. They also have this summary of a recent Al Sharpton interview. Quote, Sheriff Arpaio debates the nappy-headed race hustler. Rick Oltmann ties to Council of Conservative Citizens, just like Virginia Abernathy. He was on your payroll. Was that also a mistake?
First of all, I think you're trying to raise divisive and inflammatory issues here.
I'm trying to get to the bottom of what FAIR is.
The allegation was made by the Southern Poverty Law Center.
I'm not talking about the Southern Poverty Law Center. These are facts that you can address independent of where you think I've sourced them from. Is it true?
The point is, you're not stating any facts that are accurate. If Rick Oltmann back 20 years ago went to a panel at the invitation of the CCC to talk about immigration policy, how can you impute to FAIR or even to Rick Oltmann the positions of that organization, which, by the way, at the time, Trent Lott and a lot of other senior politicians were members of? I think this is ahistorical. You're confusing facts, jumbling things up, trying to create something that's not there.
Were you the advisor, an editorial advisor to a magazine called The Social Contract for a long time?
Oh, yeah.
Social Contract also run by John Tanton or set up by John Tanton? Yes. Okay. I'll say yes. The editor of The Social Contract is a man named Wayne Lutton. He's also a regular contributor to a journal that's called American Renaissance. He gives talks at their conferences. This is a journal that publishes stuff like this. Quote, blacks and whites are different. When blacks are left entirely to their own devices, Western civilization, any kind of civilization, disappears. Wayne Lutton is currently the editor of The Social Contract. You're an advisor to it. It's a John Tanton joint. Are you worried about Wayne Lutton despoiling your image as a moderate, non-racist organization?
Absolutely not. First of all, it has nothing to do with FAIR. It's not a position I would ever agree with, obviously, or anybody associated directly with FAIR. But in the end, and I'm not an advisor on The Social Contract anymore, but in the end, are you saying, somehow are you suggesting that every political position that appears in a magazine, if you're an editorial advisor on, that somehow it can be imputed to you? This is McCarthyism. This is guilt by association. And, you know, groups like the SPLC never respond to their own credibility. They turn around and make these kind of go on these smear campaigns without any accountability to anybody.
Dan Stein, this is not an interview with the Southern Poverty Law Center. If anything that I said you think was not based in fact, I'd be happy to have you back to talk about it. You impugning the way that I do my research isn't going to change the research.
I'm saying basically you're asking me a fact. What I'm telling you is
it's not true. You're implying that it's not true because you're implying that I am the Southern Poverty Law Center. I'm Rachel Maddow. This is MSNBC. I'm bringing you facts that I've independently researched. If you can't criticize them, don't criticize me for asking you about them. Rebut them if you can. That's all I wanted to do.
The answer is no.
Okay. Dan Stein, the president of FAIR. Thank you for being here tonight. I wish this could have been a more civil discussion. We didn't talk over each other so much.
Are we going to talk about the bill? I thought we were going to talk about the bill.
I wanted to talk about FAIR, and I think you've pretty much given me all the detail.
You haven't given me a chance to talk about FAIR. I think FAIR has done a lot of things that are very important to talk about, and this is a very important issue, and you're not giving me a chance to talk about anything of substance.
Well, Mr. Stein, I'm sorry that you feel like it wasn't substantive. I feel like we covered a lot of important
I think
things.
you're wasting people's time.
I'd be happy to have you back if you want to waste some more with me.
Anytime.
We'll be right back.